The seventh category of abuse is causing serious physical neglect of a child. Serious physical neglect can be a one-time event. When this kind of neglect is committed by a perpetrator, and it endangers a child's life or health, threatens a child's well-being, causes bodily injury, or impairs a child's health, development, or functioning, it is considered serious physical neglect.
We had a student that was coming in to school every day, dirty. Hair was matted, food was all over his clothing. He never had eaten any breakfast. He came in hungry every day. He came in tired every day. Lunches were not very nutritious that had been packed for him. And this happened over a long period of time, or a considered period of time. The parent, in this case, I knew to be overwhelmed with her situation. This was not an easy thing for her to do. Parenting was difficult for her at best. So knowing all those things, I think I actually watched even harder with the student to make sure that things were okay within the family. It ended up that when I went to the administrator, I'd gone to him numerous times, but I finally said, this is time to really look hard at what's going on. And it's never an easy decision. I mean, we decided, I called the child line, and we got it taken care of, and it actually worked out very nicely. The parent got help, and the child was much better off. So it really worked out very nicely.
Often it's a call from a teacher like you that gets a family the support they need. Identifying what is or is not neglect isn't as important as connecting a family with needed resources. But when it comes to looking for signs of neglect, what is it you should be looking for? Child neglect causes injuries that are not the result of a deliberate act, but can result in serious harm to a child. Neglected children may suffer from injuries, ingestion of things that are not food, inadequately treated illnesses, dental problems, malnutrition, behavioral and social-emotional difficulties, impaired cognitive development, learning disorders, or delinquent behavior. Serious physical neglect can be a one-time event. When this kind of neglect is committed by a perpetrator and it endangers a child's life or health, threatens a child's well-being, causes bodily injury, or impairs a child's healthy development or functioning, it is considered serious physical neglect.
So as a pediatrician, I like to think of neglect as what is the child not getting that the child should be able to get? Okay, and then the next question is, why isn't the child getting that? Okay, so when I think about school, I can think about educational neglect. You may have a child who is missing multiple days of school, okay? That's not good for the child. Why isn't that child getting to school almost every day? Okay, well, there are probably scores of answers to that question, okay? And in some cases, it may be that the parent is incapable of getting the child to school because the parent's addicted to drugs or alcohol and can't get up in the morning to get the child to school. That's neglect, okay? On the other hand, it may be that the child has severe asthma and the parent doesn't have medications because they don't have the health care that allows them to buy the medications. So the child's asthma is being neglected, but not necessarily because of the parent's faults. So when we think about neglect, we have to think about all the different contributors and how can we help parents get children what they need.
The bottom line here is that neglect, especially of very young children, can be life-threatening. If you're concerned that a child's basic needs are not being met, make a referral to Childline so that an assessment of the family can be made and appropriate actions taken. To get parents the help they need, report neglect. The eighth category of abuse is acts that endanger a child. Certain acts, in and of themselves, are considered child abuse whenever they are done in a manner that endangers the child, even if a child has not sustained an injury. These situations must be reported to Childline. For example, interfering with a child's breathing endangers a child of any age. Forcefully shaking, striking, or slapping a child who is less than 1 year of age is an act that endangers an infant. Category 9 is suspicious death, causing the death of a child through any act or failure to act. The final category of abuse, Category 10, is human trafficking, engaging a child in severe forms of human trafficking. Human trafficking involves the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a child for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. Note that sex trafficking of a child does not require there to be force, fraud, or coercion. Both labor trafficking and sex trafficking fall under the category human trafficking. Labor trafficking is labor obtained by use of threat of serious harm, physical restraint, or abuse of legal process. Some examples include being forced to work for little or no pay, frequently in factories or farms; domestic servitude, which may be providing services within a household from 10 to 16 hours per day, such as childcare, cooking, cleaning, yard work, or gardening. Sex trafficking involves a commercial sex act that is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such act has not reached 18 years of age. You may be wondering what is considered a severe form of trafficking. According to the Federal Trafficking Victims Protection Act, children who are exploited through commercial sex are viewed as victims of severe forms of trafficking in persons. The Child Protective Services Law refers to recent acts in the definitions of the categories of abuse. What is considered recent is interpreted in two ways. 6 of the categories, bodily injury, caregiver fabricated illness, reasonable likelihood of bodily injury, likelihood of sexual abuse and exploitation, certain recent acts, and labor trafficking, are considered recent if they occurred within the past 2 years. This means that if you suspect a child has been the victim under any of these categories in the past 2 years, a report needs to be made to Childline. An example is a child disclosing he sustained a broken arm a year ago as a result of his father beating him, but he told emergency department staff he fell off his bike. This is bodily injury within the past 2 years. 5 categories: serious mental injury, sexual abuse or exploitation, serious physical neglect, suspicious death, and sex trafficking, are not limited to within the past 2 years. As long as the suspected abuse occurred when the person was under the age of 18, it can be reported to Childline up until the child's 20th birthday. There is no time limit for reporting suspected homicide or sex trafficking under the Pennsylvania Crimes Code.